This week we'll be talking about. Oh wait. Oh geez. Hold on. Let me mute that. All right. Yeah. So sorry about that. We had little technical difficulties, and I've caught it sooner than later. So on our play for this week, PlayStation is raising prices on Steam. What is PlayStation's next move after purchasing Firewalk Studio? Should you be excited that Netflix is working on a AAA game? We played Horizon Burning Shores and the Street Fighter 6 demo. Should you play these games? All these answers and more on Season 7, Episode 16 of Press X Start Gamers Digest. All right, it's going to do the thing. Yeah, you gotta love technical difficulties, boy. All right, what is up, everyone? I'm your host, DJ, aka Sexy Bad Choices, aka, because I'm going to run that back, Sean. We need to work on his leadership skills. I am joined by
Sean MF Ross.
what the MF stand for.
I beg to differ. You deserted your post.
Last, is that what?
You deserted your post.
Actually, I didn't get a chance to desert the post. But
You
we'll
gotta
talk
be
about
ready
that
for
in
war at any time.
We'll talk about what we've been playing section. We are joined, lastly but not leastly, by.
Hey, everyone, it's me, Avery.
Nailed it.
All right, now roll that beautiful bean footage.
All right. Now you know who we are. Press X Start Gamers Digest is a video podcast that condensed the most important gaming news from this past week into an hour-long meal just for you. We are live on YouTube every Sunday at 3 p.m. I was gonna say, Eastern Standard Time. That part's important because
You don't know where you live.
I am right. So we hope you're hungry. We hope you're hungry. Don't forget, you can support us by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hit the notification bell. If you are listening, we would greatly appreciate you leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or the podcast services you are tuned in on. If you want to join our conversations, you can by joining our Discord at pressx2start.com/Discord. It's in the text. You just read the text. It's there. It's really easy. It's really easy. All right. Now that we have all this taken care of for the second time, Avery, what's happening in the gaming world?
All right, yeah. Our first story is from IGN. This is from Christina Alexander. Sony is quietly raising prices on its games on Steam in certain regions. So, Reset Era user named Chairman Chuck pretty much spotted these price increases on Steam DB. It's affecting Argentina, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Japan, and South Korea. These price increases vary wildly between game and actual increases. Some are increased by 10, some are increased by multiples of maybe even 100. There's no rhyme or reason, and Sony hasn't communicated any information for why this is happening and why are these games. It doesn't seem to be if I'm playing, how I say it, if I'm giving this a generous read, this has something to do with the various costs of inflation and import-export tax in these specific regions, and that's why they've been changed, and that's why the changes are so effectively random. If this was a more uniform thing over more of a uniform thing over more platforms, I would be more in line to think this is some weird, nefarious Sony move. That being said, it's a very interesting move to make, especially in the light of them saying that Microsoft could manipulate the price of video games via the Activision Blizzard deal. There is that to being said. But yeah.
Yeah, I like your spin on it where, like, this could just be the market, the shift in the market due to inflation, and this is how Sony is adjusting to that. The thing that I find interesting is that this feels pretty similar to when PlayStation was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to increase the price of the PlayStation in places other than the US."
Specifically the PlayStation 5. And yeah.
Yes, PlayStation 5, yeah. And like in places other than the US. And it's like it seems like they're trying to eke out as much money as they can without exactly hurting the I don't want to say main demographic because like I feel like that's putting US first when
Well, we also need to recognize that this is where DJ and whoever's in post can just play Greg Miller's rant about PC games in this part. We also got to recognize that these are the second. This is Steam.
That
These
too.
are the PC games. For the most part, all of these games, PlayStation has already made the money they want with these games, and this is just a quality of life supportive increase to the portfolio, coupled with the fact that I'm of the belief that once you put a game on PC that you have to charge for, just it's all of its value disappears with the way the PC ecosystem works. In
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everyone and their mother will figure out a way to pirate and sell this game for cheaper than you are. And while you can say that, and while people say that, oh, when digital games, uh, the people who put out digital games control the entire income of digital games. I would like to remind people that sites like G2A exist where they just find themselves keys to games and then just sell those games as if they were the same financial products. So the whole entire ecosystem is fucked up. I also did a good look of like Argentina. Like Argentina is on the peso. $70 game in the $70 in pesos is 1,259. So there's already a insane price discrepancy in these
Yeah.
markets. So my hands are in the air.
What's the average cost of living and monthly income over there?
I didn't do that research. That research was irrelevant to me
I
when I
feel
was
you.
doing this.
It matters, but I hear you.
It matters, but it's like in the grand scheme of what I was specifically looking at, of like, were these Steam games even being charged at $70? It clearly wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing that I think about it. Ooh, okay, I lost that thing that I thought about. If I remember it, I'll say it. But yeah, this overall this sucks for the regions that are going to be the PlayStation gamers in those regions that will be affected by this change in price. It never feels good to.
Well, specifically, not PlayStation gamers in general. Because a PlayStation
Okay,
gamer would have played this
yes,
game.
yes. Gamers who are interested in PlayStation games.
There we go. That's a
Yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah. Because it's just it sucks to be like, oh wow, I'm going to be paying more in the future for these games, and that kind of.
No, it sucks. It 100% sucks.
I mean, like, I guess what I'm getting at is like, I feel like for some people, for some select people, that might push them more towards pirating these games because it's just like I'm already strapped for cash, and now you want me to be paying more for these. Like, all right, I guess I'll just have to find a way to play these games. Wink, wink. So
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I'm of the mindset that once you put your game on PC, just get rid of the zero income.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
That's a me personal thing. I have no data to provide that. It's just anecdotal information that I've
Yeah.
used. But to that point, I rarely put up sales data because I think it's entirely irrelevant unless it's insane. So this is why I'm putting this story here. This is from this goes in tandem with the first story. This is from Tom Ivan from VGC. U.S. PS5 sales are now tracking ahead of PS4s on a time-aligned basis. So ignore this title. This is not even what I want to care about. The
Mhm.
PS5 in March sold more than half a million. Well, more than half a million units. I think the exact number is somewhere around 600,000.
That's so. What dropped in March? Did I?
They're just still
Nothing.
becoming more available.
They're just more
Just
available.
more. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, okay.
And then I think the actual number is like 365% more than what it's normally
Normally,
sells.
yeah,
Mm.
that's
So
crazy.
yeah, that's an insane number.
What's crazy is the numbers would have been bonkers if we didn't have the chip shortage and the scalpers.
Pandemic and stuff.
I actually
Yeah.
think it wouldn't be bonkers. I think if we had the chip shortage, like
Mhm.
there's always going to be a constraint on these systems
Yeah.
at the start. I think the chip shortage coupled with the demand create a bottleneck that now that they're making more than they can sell,
Yeah.
the floodgate hit opened, and now that we get an insane stat like this.
You know what? I wonder if because of the shortage, because of the whole scammers like grabbing the console and stuff, like that generated news articles that got even more attention on the console being released and like how scarce it was, that like I wonder if that actually helped drive the rush to get the PS5 once it was more available versus it
I
having a normal release like cycle.
I don't necessarily know.
Yeah.
I'm still believing in the fact that the demand increased as the supplies did not meet the demand, and the demand just kept increasing. So
Mhm.
once supplies hit demand, they both catalyze into this moment where you're selling this much in such a short amount of time.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's an insane stat. Uh, that is good for PlayStation as a business. There are other stats for other systems that are less than ideal, but I see those more of a blip in the proverbial. Well, no, we'll see. Those are just numbers that need to be kept apparent in the long term.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, interesting. I to Sean's point of what came out, I don't know. Well, I admit, I honestly think it was just the supply and demand hitting that fever pitch. I don't know what about March made a bunch of people decide that they desperately needed a PS5.
I I think I mean like looking at this chart, like Resident Evil and Hogwarts Legacy. Like Hogwarts
Uh,
Legacy has been like selling crazy. So I
Resident
think,
4 is on PS4.
but it's also on
Maybe
PS5 though, right?
people want
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
maybe people want that next gen shit, or people are
Yeah.
buying in a advance of Final Fantasy and like Street Fighter and stuff like that.
I mean, that could also be it too. I mean, it could just be the fact that there are just a lot of good games out. So people are just like, all right, well, now it's time for me to upgrade now that there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
good amount of games to play.
I
Yeah.
don't think. Before we move on, I just don't think it's a particular game. I'm just trying to see. I'm
Mhm.
just trying to understand what factors may have caused X, Y, and or Z. But we should move on to our next story.
Okay.
Yeah. This comes directly from the PlayStation.Blog. Welcome Firewalk Studios to the PlayStation Studios family. This blog is written by Herman Hulse, who is the head of PlayStation Studios. Essentially, early this week, PlayStation bought Firewalk Studios. Firewalk is a studio that was started in 2018. It has fundamentally been it was made by ex Destiny devs, and it was fundamentally a support studio that worked on games like Destiny. I want to say Call of Duty. I want to say Halo, but you can't quote me on that. And then 28, I want to say in 2020, they were one of the big games that Sony announced that they were making second party partnerships on. Another one of those games was uh, Jade Raymond's Haven Studios, and the other one is Deviation Studios. So they are 3 years into their deal with Sony to make a AAA multiplayer game, and Sony has essentially spent the capital to make this studio exclusive to them, bringing Sony's number of first-party studios. I'm not sure if this is including support. I don't think it is. 220.
20. Yeah. 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 I so at we because we talked about this on the Discord, and I was very much like, all right, that this is fine. Like for the fact that them being a support studio, it was to me, it was like, okay, I would like to see more of like proof in the pudding to see like to have a better understanding of like how important the studio is. But I think it was on Jeff Grubb's podcast. He was talking about it and he made a really good point that kind of changed my perspective on this. In that we know that PlayStation is working with them to make a live service game. It behooves PlayStation to continue this kind of partnership. And then if you stretch that out, they end up paying more money by not having them first party. So is that was that what you're trying to get to, Avery, when we're talking in Discord?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, like that makes sense in terms of like, okay, yeah, okay, you put a ring on it because in the long term you end up saving money versus the current relationship.
That entire argument is my Square Enix PlayStation exclusivity deal argument.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, I can see that. In that perspective, I can see that too. Yeah.
But I revised my Square Enix forecast in that they're not buying them this year. I think a
Yeah.
move like this, empties out the coffers just enough that like making a Square deal without like dramatic upper level Sony decisions isn't going to happen anytime soon. So we're still going to get these weird deals where Sony's paying Square Enix to just not without without transparency on what the deal entails and like what work Sony itself is putting into their games. I don't think we're going to see any movement on that. But yeah. I am. Yeah, we had a lot of talk about this in our Discord about this move, and it's very in line with PlayStation's ethos about how they pick up studios, in that they work with a studio, they form a relationship with that studio, and then they buy them. This, however, this along with the Haven sort of like buyout is a evolution of what their traditional business model when it came to buying studios is that they've worked with these studios just enough to be like, we really like what is going on with these games. And then to your point, let's not have a live service multiplayer game where we're making 75% of the profits. Let's make 100% of the profits, and we can go from there. It also helps with the.
I also remember my original point about the whole Steam game thing. It was just that by them putting their games out on Steam, it's going to require more money on the support side for these games because there's going to be a bunch of different bugs that they're going to be hit with. So it makes sense that they would charge extra money.
Yeah,
but that was it.
Yeah. So there is an I want to see what the odds and under is them picking up Deviation, because if you've seen Deviation's building, it looks like a first party Sony studio. So let's see what's happening with that. But since this game was the partnership began in 2023, in 2020, I'm of the mindset that we will probably see what Firewalk is working on this year. I do think, however, they should probably change their name from Firewalk to something else, because Sony also owns Fire Sprite, and it's actually kind of difficult to remember which studio makes what type of game.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the thing that happened, or I guess the thing that's happening with Netflix games. Hey, you. Subscribe to the channel. Anyways, that's an old commercial that I just did a quick little spoof off of. If you are aware of it, if you're old, Anyways, do us a solid, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. We are trying our best to be the best for you, listener and viewer. If you are listening, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or podcast services you're using. Doesn't take much to do. It's pretty quick to do, and we'll greatly appreciate it. It will help us in the long run, and in the short run, and in that weird medium run as well. Yeah. Also, you can join Discord if you want. If you want to have cool conversations with us, we're here. We're available all the time. It's just go to pressx.com/Discord. It'll take you right there. Yes, it will. All right. With that being said, Avery, let's get back into Netflix and their gaming initiative.
Okay, so this is a weird story to talk about. It's got multiple parts and multiple. It tells the story. Anyway, our first part is from Sissy Jing from Kotaku. Veteran Halo Destiny director joins Netflix games. So Joseph Staten, who was the head of the Halo games and recently left that, has teamed up with Netflix to make a AAA game. What this means, there's a lot of sort of like trying to understand what this means. What does a AAA game mean with Netflix? This is where the second part of the story taps in. This is from IGN. This is from Rebecca Valentine. Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals is finally on the way with a July release date. So I think Nintendo had an Indie World showcase, which we're not going to be talking about here, but they had an Indie World showcase, and one of the games that they showed off was Oxenfree 2, and they showed off all the platforms that Oxenfree 2 was going to be releasing on. It's going to be released on Netflix, so effectively Netflix is going to either reprogram that game to work perfectly. Either the game has been restructured to work with Netflix, like it's just your standard remote, or it's one of those things where it's going to be a traditional game, but you're going to have to use your phone for it.
Yeah, so I think there was a story that happened either this past week or the week before where Netflix was either had a patent or something about the technology for
Yeah.
the phone
Well,
to
yeah.
be used as a controller. Yeah.
But no, my main point with this is that whether the game would be streaming to Netflix Cloud-like, or would it be something that would be native on the platform as a
I see.
downloadable thing.
Yeah.
So that's where my confusion with this is. However, it's on a bunch of other platforms. It was in Nintendo Indie World, so it's going to be on Switch. It's also going to be on PS4. It's also going to be on PS5. The only question mark there is, why isn't this game on an Xbox platform? And I'm pulling this from the initial tweet is from Jez. I found this from Jez Corden, who works for Windows Central, which is a very Xbox focused website. In that they essentially, yes, I'm not. No, yeah, I was trying to determine how much shade I throw on how much on Windows Central articles, because they are Netflix they're an Xbox focused website. So every article they put out has an Xbox lens to it, which leads to I find sometimes a lot of weird out of pocket things where I'm just like,
Oh.
okay, you're a Microsoft fan, and that's what it ultimately means. But anyway, the interesting takeaway I found is that Jez quote tweeted a Richard Hogue, who seems to be a lawyer, who said that Microsoft Game Pass and Netflix both see themselves as competitors. Don't be surprised when the more tech-facing companies choose to isolate Microsoft. And Jez's quote tweet response was, "This is why acquisitions is hyper important for Xbox. It's preventative on content blocks like this. For regulators like the FTC to want to reduce competition by undermining Xbox show the dereliction of duty."
That's a really interesting perspective, because I also think about how I believe this was Microsoft when they said that they don't really see PlayStation as a competitor. They see like the bigger services like Google, I guess in this case Netflix, as a competitor, and to see like Netflix do a move like this, and it's like, oh, that might actually have a little bit of weight. But then at the same time, it's like, all right, well, if you don't see PlayStation as a competitor, put Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation. Get that money, do it. But of
Yeah.
course they won't.
Well,
They also see PlayStation as a
well,
competitor.
because no, it's because they're weird. Their content release schedule makes absolutely no sense. They say a lot of weird things. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the interesting point why I wanted to bring up here is that the interesting part that Microsoft has essentially put themselves by focusing everything on Game Pass as a content platform is that they're now knocking at the door of everyone else who's jumping into gaming as a subscription as a
Yep.
subscription service, and it's going to be interesting to see going forward, because now we have a AAA game made by a former Halo dev, which is probably going to be on PlayStation and not on Xbox. And you can make the argument that why would they waste money on Xbox? And the thing I didn't mention in the PS5 sales was that Xbox was down 10% this month.
Hmm.
And so the consistent narrative I've been hearing is that the Xbox is selling well, but we've now once again returned to the period of time where PlayStation is eating. The PlayStation 5 is now eating Xbox's lunch as a console platform, and so
Right.
we'll see whether it's sales of the console, sales of the games, or Game Pass, which is going to be the tip of the spear going forward, especially with moves like this going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, Redfall and Starfield are quality. And I mean, I don't know what's past those two major releases for Microsoft.
Those are the big
Skyrim.
Those are the big two major releases of this year.
Yeah.
Whereas Sony has a cornucopia of shit coming out past.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a weird place that Xbox is in right now, because they could figure out another Gears game. They could bring back Blink's Time Sweeper. And there's a lot of options, really. But what's gonna sell?
No,
What's
they're
gonna be
throwing
the
70 billion behind mobile games and Call of Duty. I don't really get their strategy other than own it all.
We might get a Master Chief crush. You never know. I'll download it, play it for a little bit.
Yeah. Interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, yeah. Our next story is there was a Ubisoft forward direct that showed off content. So this is from Tom Ivan from BGC. Ubisoft shows off Division Heartland and reveals Division 2's Year 5 roadmap. So first things first, I didn't know the Division 2 was still an active, ongoing game that was still getting active and ongoing content rollout. That's on me as a person who played
Right.
about 2 years of the Division. But they pretty much gave a content roadmap, which is like, here's 4 new seasons of new DLC for the people playing the Division 2. They also showed off, I think the big focus was Heartland, which is a PvEVP focused game. And from everything it looks like they're just taking the Dark Zone portion of the Division, which is a portion of the game where you got high tier loot by fighting enemies and then had to fight player characters in order to extract that loot, and turning that into its own vertical of the Division franchise, a la a DMZ, but more in line. Even though the Division Dark Zone might be the first of its kind, extraction looter shooter.
Yeah. In a way, you can like look at the Dark Zone as like, this is an extraction shooter, and then like the first person version of it was peeled off from this. But yeah, it's cool to see that they haven't given up on this game, that they're still supporting it. Um, like Avery, I kind of forgot that this was still being supported. I kind of forgot Heartland was still a thing.
Does it have
Um,
microtransactions? The Division 2?
Probably.
yes,
Then people
maybe.
are spending money on it. It's still going. I
I mean,
guess most games.
no, because like it's like Destiny. You buy the DLC for it.
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
meant like
yeah.
actual battle pass type,
No, as far as I can, yeah,
microtransaction
as
stuff.
far as I can tell, there isn't that. But if we're talking about, I only didn't think it was an ongoing thing because I stopped playing it and I stopped hearing about major updates, at least in my sphere. So when I saw this and they're like, oh, these are year 5 season updates, I'm like, oh, they've been doing continual seasonal updates of this game. I just stopped paying attention after the last big content rollout that I heard about, which is Warlords
Right.
of
New York, right?
Warlords of New York, which was released in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, I think for what it's worth and what they've shown, I think it looks interesting. At the same time, man, you can really see the age of this game. You can really see the age of this game. So that is
It's the
it's a
2019.
weird way.
The Division 2 is the 2019 game.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's a weird way of it being kind of concerning to me, because in one way it is concerning, and the other way it's like, if the game plays good, like it's Division 2, like if you already like Division 2, you're gonna enjoy this. So you're not gonna really care too much about the graphics. Also, because you're playing the amount of different DLC they've been releasing. So
Yeah. I'm sorry. I put a pin on this. To answer Sean's earlier question, yes, the Division 2 has DLC, but microtransactions. But like Destiny, I think all of its microtransactions are only cosmetic stuff. So
okay,
you can buy premium currency to get new apparel, which I remember from the original deals, Division 2 when I was playing it.
gotcha. Yeah,
And yeah, I can see why it's still popular. Then I mean, it had a large player base, and you have microtransactions to spend money on if you like it.
yeah, it looks cool. I mean, are you guys interested in this? You guys gonna play it? 'Cause
Uh, more
I
Division.
played it and it was okay. Go ahead, Avery.
oh yeah,
At this
okay,
point,
go ahead.
whatever, man.
Okay.
We're not large enough to really give a shit. Whatever.
Oh man. So yeah, Avery, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so Heartland. Uh the Dark Zone was not my favorite part of the Division 2 or Division anything. I rarely touched it.
Yeah.
Because I played the
Yeah.
Division as pretty much a single player game.
Mm,
Once I beat the main campaign, I found no real reason to like grind for more gear and like raise my like gear score and things like that. So like the idea of, oh, this is the end game of this game, going to the Dark Zone and getting brand new gear to raise your gear score, that never appealed to me. I also
yeah.
really don't risk reward games, despite me being the Dark Souls fan, the Souls fan in this one. Risk reward works when it's me versus a computer that I can predict. Risk reward doesn't work when it's me versus, I don't know, another player
Another person.
that I have to deal with. And So I've never really drifted towards extraction shooters. I've played a little bit of Tarkov just to understand why it got so popular, and I can see the appeal as a free to play. If you're a shooter fan, and you want a sort of more hardcore, unforgiving experience, all of that sort of like the idea of what a Souls experience is, but it just doesn't really appeal to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm of the mind like if you guys jump in, I'll give it a shot. But other than that, I'm okay with passing on this. I just like Division 2. I enjoyed my time with it, but it never had the hooks on me where I was like, oh, I need to get back to that experience. To the fact that I wasn't even aware that there was more DLC content to it. So yeah, that's where I'm at. All right, well, what's next?
Yeah, and then our sort of final story, which will, I guess, dovetail into what we've been playing, is that Capcom had a 420 hosted by Lil Wayne uh, preview for Street Fighter 6. So this is from Adam Bankhurst from IGN. Street Fighter 6 demo announced alongside Year 1 DLC fighters and single player world tour details. So essentially, they had a big showcase for another big showcase to show off more Street Fighter 6 in before its launch. I think they focused a lot on the single player world tour mode and what that is going to be. So if you're interested in that, you should check out the showcase. However, the most interesting thing to me about this is that they announced also the first year of DLC for Street Fighter 6, allow what characters are going to be added to the roster. And this, unfortunately, coincides with all the leaks we had when this game was first announced. And so the characters of Aki, Akuma, Rashid, and Ed aren't going to be the final four characters in the base game, but will be the first four characters in the DLC.
That's disappointing because I really love me some Akuma. So to know that I have to wait such a long time to get him kind of sucks. But you know, that's their plan. That's their plan. I mean, overall, so yeah, as Avery
They
said,
also, yeah, they
okay, yeah,
also revealed that there's going to be a demo free to everyone on PlayStation 5. There's going to be further demos for other platforms after this fact, but the first wave of the demos for PS5 were for PS5 that just came out.
cool. Um, okay, well, w- we should just jump into what we've been playing. We could just talk about it in that way, right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's
All right.
fine.
So, yeah, hey, there goes gaming news. Now it's time for what we've been playing. Guess what? We've been playing Street Fighter 6 demo. Oh, all right. Um, so yeah, I played the demo. I'll talk about the War Tour section first, and then the actual game of Street Fighter because everyone knows what the game of Street Fighter is. The War Tour section is very interesting. Um, so you get to use a create a character engine to build out your perfect Street Fighter character, and I
It is
think it does
very
a
in depth.
really yeah, it's very in depth. Like I really like how detailed you can go with like your muscle structure and like your how wide your shoulders are and how narrow your shoulders are versus how big your butt is or how small your butt is. It's cool. It gives you a lot of detail. You can even make like a big hand, big feet guy.
Or you can make
Whatever. It's
a
cool.
regular sized person with small hands, like a president.
Yeah. The of course because of my skin color, I have to talk about this. I think the I think the hair options is still limited. You get a Caesar cut and you get dreads, and
That
the
Caesar
dreads,
cut is weak, bro.
hey, the dreads are hilarious. Oh, shout out to Lil Wayne for be he was used the perfect amount for this whole showcase because he was on screen for maybe a total of 5 minutes. Like, and they made sure to cut to different parts of his whole like presentation. They used the best
Mm.
bits. Good job on them for doing the best they can to make Lil Wayne work in this context. But yeah, back to the world tour stuff. Um, yeah, so when you put the locks on, the locks look cool, but when you put a hat on the locks does this weird like right angle thing, and it frames the character's head in such a weird way. I'm just like, you guys didn't
Mm,
you had to have
mm, mm.
test for this. You had to have known that this is gonna
Somebody said
happen, like
this looks good.
right,
Well,
exactly, and
they
that's
didn't ask me to test it. I'll tell you
right.
that.
Yeah, and it's just like
how does headgear look with every other type of hat that you put on it?
you only get one in a demo. So I don't know if that's just
I'm
a
talking about
problem.
No, he's
well, that's
saying the other hair types.
the
Did
other
you try other
hairstyle.
hair types with the hat?
I don't know, but the locks, from what I remember, the locks is the only real like flowy, like thick hair.
Hmm.
So I think
Because what I'm guessing is what they probably did is that they have one hair they have one head model for a hat, and so they put the hat on, and whatever hair it is has to conform to what the hat is instead of
yeah.
being a more separate thing that like these are two objects interacting with each other.
Yeah, like you can tell that the locks I guess the effect of the locks is built off of the effect of long hair because it looks like it is breaking like long hair would break, but it just looks weird because they're locks and it just looks weird. Like it's one of those things where if they saw it and cared about it, they probably could have fixed it, but they got a bunch of different hair types, so they probably just didn't have the time. That's understandable. Whatever. Um the actual World Tour mode is interesting in that you basically play as a new student, and Luke is your teacher. Luke is also a new character to this. He's like a
He was in Street Fighter Five.
was he?
Yeah, he was the
Oh,
last
all
character
right.
released in Street
Wow,
Fighter Five.
didn't
This is the
realize
second.
that.
This is
Well,
the second time I've had to remind you to review about this.
Well, as Avery corrected me, Luca's period is Street Fighter Five. So he is your
I don't
dojo
remember none of
guy,
this.
and then you also have a rival named Bosch. It should be named Gary because it's a better name. And you guys just tour the streets and you fight. You can fight anyone. You can put hands on anyone in the streets, except for like the one cop guy, which is weird. But other than that,
For a
anyone
minute, I
can
was
get
a
in.
woman beater because there were no men to fight on the street. So it was just like, what's going on here? Are the men all hiding, or
All
the
right.
women around here just tough? Or someone explain something to me.
uh, so the other new thing for Street Fighter 6 that kind of works in World Tour in a way that I didn't really like is that there are different ways of playing the game. So you can play the game the classic way where you have the 6 button controls like light punch, medium punch, heavy punch, same for kicks. There's also like a Smash Brothers way where you have a light attack, medium attack, and heavy attack, and the special attack button. I played that way a little bit, but because I'm so ingrained with how Street Fighter works, like I just couldn't wrap my brain around like properly playing that way. And World Tour, it's the demo is it have you stuck in the like Smash Brothers way of playing it for the entire thing. And that like messed me up so much because I'm not accustomed to that. And I'm sitting here playing as this character. I'm just like, all right, well, let me just do this medium punch thing. And it just does something that I wasn't even like prepared for. So that kind of was an issue, but like after you beat the World Tour mode, which is like about an hour or so, it's very short. Um, you see the option of like, oh yeah, you can switch to classic mode, but you don't actually get to do it because the demo ends. You start the whole thing over. Overall, I had a good time with World Tour mode. I think it's interesting. Um, in the trailer, they show you at different locations, and you get like different moves and stuff. You can use the moves to unlock different or get to different areas in the world. That sounds cool. I didn't really get any of that in the demo itself, so hopefully when game releases, that stuff works and it's enjoyable experience. What was your experience with this, Sean?
Um, I didn't mind the modern fighting mode because I'm a casual fighting game person, so whatever, you know what I mean.
Real
Um,
talk. Sean was talking major smack on Discord, talking about, "Oh, I'm about to lay hands on you. I'm about to lay hands on you."
I did lay hands on him.
I want to confirm. I want to confirm that Sean also was talking a lot of major smack. Normally I wouldn't be in DJ's corner, but as someone who's played a lot of games with DJ, Sean don't want this smoke. Sean doesn't want this smoke.
I will say one thing.
If DJ wants to dedicate himself to getting good at a fighting game, you don't want this smoke. I'm like
For the level of skill.
I'm top 5 in our group when it comes to Smash Brothers. And I'm like, even every time I go against DJ, it's a coin flip of, am I going to play good or is he going to pull out some bullshit and I'll lose?
DJ, I will ask you this. Was I as much of a pushover as you thought I would be?
No, you did pretty good. You did pretty good. I will give you your props. You did good. I was that's why I was asking. I was like, oh well, have you played Street Fighter before? Because I didn't know like, oh this guy could be a hidden pro. You know, didn't know.
No. I am extremely casual. I will play a
Yeah.
fighting game when it comes out for a little bit, and then I don't have anybody else to play against. So I mean, like you played competitively. I'm not gonna say professionally,
Well,
but I
somewhat.
mean, you
Yeah,
you
yeah,
you played enough to know combos and stuff. I play, you know, hyper casual, whatever. So
yeah.
you
No,
know,
I get you. I
I,
get you.
I was just going by the old '90s rules. I'm gonna fuck up you perfect. You ain't about to push me over. That's all. I won a few matches.
Yeah. He did. He did.
Considering I was using Luke, we were both
Hmm.
using Luke. Like, what the hell is this move set?
Yeah,
You know, once
because we
I
thought he was
switched
a
to
new character.
Ryu, I
You
was
know.
yeah. Once I switched to Ryu, I was doing a little bit better, and then I switched back to the classic, game mode. So I mean,
Yeah,
I won a few matches here and there,
he
but
did. He
it
did.
was
He
fun.
did
You're one of those Street Fighter
Um,
the movie people.
oh gosh. What's interesting is we were able to get multiplayer working through PlayStation SharePlay.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to that
and
because that was I didn't even think about
he
that.
forgot that existed. It didn't
Totally did.
have too much lag. To
Is it
be
one of those
honest,
services that DJ's gonna talk shit about and forget it exists?
yeah.
Okay,
Because
makes sense.
at first I was like, why wouldn't they just allow online multiplayer? But then I realized it's not a PlayStation exclusive. So
Yeah.
really, what we did was a little workaround that kind of works seamlessly.
How
Yeah.
much of the demo was the world tour, and how much of it was the actual Street Fighter game? Because I'm betting that the reason they didn't focus on any of the multiplayer is that because they
Mhm.
wanted people to play the world tour and demo that.
Yeah. That's
So you
exactly the
had
reason why.
what the hell is it called? The fight thing on the right. I don't know. They have the World Tour, the
Fighting
Battle
grounds.
Hub, and Fighting Grounds. You only had access to Ryu and Luke,
Luke.
and there was
You
the
got access
one-on-one
to
there.
1v1 Luke and Ryu. Like
Yeah,
it was very bare bones where it's like normally you get Ryu and Ken, but they gave you Luke instead. And like that was it.
yeah,
Like there was no other characters. You
Yeah.
only could
and
get one stage and then like the
I
practice
think you could
stage.
play like 3 matches before it kind of kicked you out, and you had to go back in there.
Yeah, that too.
And then
Yeah.
the World Tour, you could run around and fight as many people as you wanted. Granted, once you fight somebody, you can't fight them again, at least in the demo. So I mean, but there was a lot of people in the town square for you to fight. Um,
Right.
I think it maxed me out at maybe like level 5.
Oh, you got
Um,
farther than I did. I didn't even reach 5.
yeah, I laid hands on damn near everybody in the town square. Um, and it seemed pretty extensive. I think it'll be fun to play this when it comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I also ended positively in my experience. Like I'll be interested to see how where they go with it, if they just treat it as like, "Oh, this is just a new mode that we're kinda pushing," or if they really try to,
Hmm.
like, "Here's, like, Easter eggs from the first Street Fighter," or, "Here's, like,
Yeah.
Street Fighter 3." Like, if they do stuff like that, I think
Um,
that'd be super cool, but we'll see.
I understand why they included a modern mode because they can't keep on putting money into games like these because comparatively the fighting game community is small but dedicated. They have to bring in new blood, and not everybody wants to learn the classic mode of, learning these 15, 30 hit combos and all that good shit.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say, for as long as I've been playing Street Fighter, doing the, like, down forward twice to, like, heavy punch, like, that stuff is
Hmm.
hard to, like, pull off, and, like, stuff like that will push more casual people away because you're like, I
Yeah.
I'm barely like figuring out how to do these new moves. Now I have to press the thing
I can't
twice
even
in the
block.
middle of a
Why do I
combo.
have to? Yeah.
Right, yeah, right. So like, I totally get it. Like I think I'm probably gonna give that mode some more love too, just to see like if I really don't jive with it or if it's just like, oh, you just gotta spend some more time and it's a better
Hmm.
system, so we'll see. All right. The other game, the other burning game that we played was
Sorry.
the new DLC from Horizon Forbidden West, Burning Shores. Avery, since I'm talking a lot, you can go ahead and
No, you
give
keep
us
going.
your. Oh, all right. Well, so I played about I don't know exactly how far I am. I've played about maybe like 3-ish hours of this. Apparently, it's like a 5 hours or so experience. So I don't know. I'm by the Hollywood sign. Avery, is that like, am I close to anything?
I would say that if did you go to the Hollywood sign for a mission or did you just go to the Hollywood sign?
I I at the mission where, um, what's her name? Skyla?
Seika.
Seika. I was not even close. Where Seika takes you on the boat, and then you go up the hill, and you see the Hollywood sign on your left, but you go to the right.
No, then you're nowhere close.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, never mind.
There's a mission at the Hollywood sign.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, that's where I am. So obviously, I got some more hours in this. Um, I had a very weird experience with Horizon when I first jumped in. I immediately felt the age of that game. I jumped in. I was supposed to play Forbidden West and to get like more reacquainted with how that game plays. I didn't do that, so I jumped in with DLC and I got just bodied in every direction because if you know when you beat that game, you have Apex versions of monsters just running around, ready to lay hands on you, and they did because I didn't remember any of the stuff for
I
That
think
is
that's what
my
happened with Frozen Wilds.
that is my same experience with this game, and it's one of my knocks against it. But I don't blame the studio. Is that man?
yeah.
You guys gotta if you're gonna make DLC for this game, it has to come out in the year this game comes out. Because if you wait nearly a year afterwards, I'm gonna come back into this game, and this is what a minor criticism I had about Forbidden West over Horizon Zero Dawn. When I played Horizon Zero Dawn, it was like poetry it rhymed. Like I
Mhm.
understood that game, and it's one of the reasons why I hold that game as one of my favorite PlayStation games. And I
Right.
hold it over other games that get not yelled at, but people give me that. Well, this man, look, this man, you can't trust any of his opinions because he has this hot take. Whatever, fight me. Your game isn't that good. But no, it's But when I played Forbidden West, that same muscle memory wasn't there. I couldn't recognize why it wasn't there. I think it was fundamentally the different enemy designs coupled with the more complexity of the game. There's more things that you need to recognize. There's more ways to traverse. There's more ways enemies can attack you. And I guess that loop
Yep.
it wasn't in my head. So me jumping into this game, it's like DJ said, I had no idea what I was doing. Like 95, I forgot 75% of the basic like rhythm of how to play this game. And it took me 3 or 4 hours to get acclimated to a point of the game playing. Like, okay, I understand to play this game. Like
Yep.
I didn't die that much playing Forbidden West. I died like every major encounter playing this DLC.
Damn.
Bro, that the new frog thing,
Yeah,
that
100% the most annoying enemy I've ever played in a Horizon game. Like straight up, like
yeah.
they make you spoiler fight Explorer a Slaughter Spine at a certain point, and I'm like, fighting that frog was way more annoying than this fucking thing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Like so yeah, because I went through a lot of emotions playing what I played. Like I didn't even beat this thing. I had the same like issues as Avery where before I even jumped into the DLC, I fought the hippo. I don't remember the name of it. The hippo robot monster thing, and it
Mhm.
was two of them, and they just took turns wrecking my shit. And I was just like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't like if I can't even beat these things, like I'm not in good shape. So it took me about like 3 hours or so to really get back into the groove, like similar to what Avery is saying, where it's like, okay, I know melee, like and then also melee in this game is I will say, going back into this game and meleeing, hey, look, you guys are right, all right? Melee is not great in this game. It's just not great in this game. And then on top of that, like for me, a
Mhm.
lot of my a lot of my muscle memory is kind of still stuck in Wild Hearts, and that game just plays very differently from this. Like for the fact that when Aloy gets knocked on the ground, she is on the ground thinking about her life for about a minute, and then she gets up, and that is just so frustrating. It's like, come on, just tech roll, like just get up. Come on, we got stuff to do. So like all that stuff just kind of weared on me a little bit. But yeah, fighting that frog, the new monster, I think that whole fight scene sort of for me put in front the issues that this game has when dealing with like flying enemies, because you have to deal like at a certain part when I was fighting that monster or the robot frog, it had a bunch of its little flying egg things around me because I wasn't focused on them. I was focusing on the frog. And it's just like, I need something to deal with all of you all at once. And then I go into my inventory and it's like, I don't got any ammo to craft this like my exploding like ball thing. So I'm just like, I guess I'm just gonna run around for a little bit. And it's just like, ugh, all right, I know I'm supposed to
I
go.
I didn't have that issue with the flying enemies. For me, they
Really?
died in one shot.
So that's another thing too. I didn't platinum the game. So when I
Oh,
ended, I didn't
okay.
even have yeah. So I didn't even have like the legendary armor or like I had one legendary bow and the others were just like epic or whatever. So like I knew that I was going in underpowered, but it was more so just like how complicated or how complex that game is and just like all the different ammo stuff you got to worry about. I'm just like I just want to like press a button and craft all the ammo for this one weapon versus like the
That
individual.
that
Yeah.
is something I would appreciate in future in the next Horizon game of like have a more easier means to craft ammo.
Yeah.
But so I am the only one who beat this game. I will say it took me around 10 hours, but I would say I took me about 10 hours because I did early on I did a lot of these side stuff. Uh,
Okay.
in the game. My first thing is that I didn't like the fact that this Burning Shores is a completely new area and not just a add-on area to the current map. So it's one of those things where I have to check myself, but like you don't really have access to the rest of the old map until you beat Burning Shores. Because that's the only time I noticed that if you scroll up from the Burning Shores area, it just goes back up to the old map.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like maybe you should check because when I opened up, I zoomed out. I was like, oh, this is just a new area, and there's nothing I can't like. There's like little invisible walls to prevent you from going anywhere outside that direction. I would have
Yeah.
preferred that. That's a minor critique. Two, I am not LA versed enough to like understand the landscape of that place to really get into its like nitty gritty of it as an environment. I recognize the Chinese theater. I recognize the Hollywood sign, but that's about it in terms of LA as a landmark.
Hmm.
And I don't think they did enough with the Burning Shores aspect of the area in like in regards to how often it appears and how much it differs from the environment because it fundamentally just looks like more Horizon as a map. Uh,
Yeah.
there's some unique structures in there that differentiate it from the rest of Horizon, but in terms of like just traversing the regular map, it seems about all there. In regards to the well, I've already talked about gameplay. They introduced a bunch of new legendary equipment, but they don't really fundamentally change, except for one new piece of equipment, which I will spoil. Is Aloy gets a gun on her hand, uh, that
She got that
essentially
thing?
you can lock on with it, and then it will auto fire upon all enemies that when you just hold the trigger. It's a really powerful thing that does a lot of does a lot of build up damage, but it's one of those things where it's kind of an awkward weapon to use. Because one thing I realized in Horizon as going back playing, it doesn't really have that precision that you want in terms of gunplay. So like when I hold if it so it kind of fires like a shotgun. So like you kind of have to auto lock to get the fire effectively.
Oh.
And didn't remember this, but this game has a stamina system where like certain abilities you have to like spend stamina to like use. So I'm like, I didn't remember this was a thing. So like every time you hit the lock on, it spends stamina. Uh it's in terms of the world building, it's very interesting. The enemy of the sort of villain antagonist of this area is very interesting. Alondrin, played by Sam Witwer, who, if you play enough video games and care enough about Star Wars, you will recognize this dude from a mile
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
He's wearing a very transparent very he's playing a very transparent, elongated muskrat, and he's a fun antagonist in that sort of pomp, like big blockbuster circumstance thing. In terms of the narrative, okay, I've always been the Aloy defender on this podcast, and me liking her personality, liking her story, and things like that. This is probably the most human they give Aloy in her back and forth
Mm-hmm.
interactions with the character of Seika. And if you've already seen the internet, you've already been spoiled about what this means about Aloy's character going forward. And I think it's an interesting direction, which I don't like that they did in DLC. As a person who has spent, I don't know, since Horizon 1 trying to get Aloy to jump on Varl and got like blindsided by him being with another character and then him dying. I'm like, was not happy how that turned out. And so the ending sort of relationships that Aloy builds in this series, I find a little bit underbaked, if that makes sense. I like the characters themselves, the new characters they introduce, but in terms of how when we get to that the most crescendo of the game, I'm like, this is a little underbaked. Now, this game has the coolest final boss of the Horizon, like not even coolest final boss, coolest enemy encounter in any Horizon game. Just point blank period.
Really?
It is a multi-stage, like exploring a large section of the map, fight against an enemy that is actually really hard and really unforgiving, but is truly one of the most dynamically interesting sequences I've ever seen in a Horizon game. So I was like, kudos for that.
Okay.
This is a piece of DLC that you have to play. Well, because of the if you care about the story of Horizon, you have to play this game because it makes changes. It makes changes to the Aloy character, and may or may not introduce new characters and new plot points for Horizon 3. This isn't a Frozen Wilds where like you can play Horizon 2 and not even touch Forbidden Wilds. I mean Frozen Wilds and not like feel any effect of that.
Mhm.
But if I go into Horizon 3 in which I think they're going without playing this, you'll be missing a lot of context going forward.
Okay. That's good to know, actually, because I was like playing it. I was like, oh, okay. I wonder how much this will affect the story of Horizon 3. The other side to this that I was like thinking about playing this game, especially coming from Wild Hearts, is that the leaked video and pictures of the multiplayer Horizon game that's supposed to come out at some other point. And like I wonder if they are looking at the criticisms that are being thrown at Horizon in terms of its gameplay, in terms of you know the ammo crafting. If we will see that stuff alleviated in the multiplayer experience, or if it's just going to be like, no,
It
this is going to be
it depends on
straight
what.
from Horizon.
Yeah, it depends on what type of multiplayer experience it is. If it is just
Yeah,
a multiplayer mode in Horizon, then no, because like
right.
that'll be them making two games. But if this is definitely a bespoke, we're trying to be more of a monster hunter. 100%, they will have all the craft ammo crafting will probably be there, but I don't think you'll be able to carry 12 weapons with a 8 weapon wheel. It will be like, all right, this is the weapon you use. So this is the only thing you need to worry about crafting or thing like
It'd
that.
probably be like specialist or something where you get 2 different types of weapons. That's it.
Mm, yeah. So yeah, yeah,
Tripcaster and a bow, or whatever.
yeah. So I'm overall like I am enjoying my time playing this. So I'm planning on beating it and getting more of that juicy uh apocalyptic techno story. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Mm.
You know what it is. That's pretty much that. All right. So that has been it for Press X to Start Gamers Digest. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed making it. We hope that you enjoyed this episode so much that you will like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. We hope that you liked this episode so much more that you will also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or podcast services you are using. Even if you're not using it, just go ahead and just sign up and leave us a review because we appreciate it and we need it because it keeps us going.
Mm.
And you want us to keep us going, especially for next episode because it's going to be a crazy one, I think. I hope,
Oh,
it is what it is.
gosh.
Yeah, okay. I think we did. I think we've secured the bag. We have another good episode out. So, viewer, keep playing games. Keep washing your hands, because boy, you don't want to get sick nowadays. And be safe. Say hi to your friends. Say hi to your family. And have a good day. Bye.
Lady, y'all.